Hello, I'm John Cole Morgan from iQuilt here in the UK, and I'm so excited to bring you my next installment of the Voices in Cloth series. Tanya van Wyk, Tanya and I met at the Azocha quilt, it was a quilt retreat. Yes, a quilt
Yes,
retreat. And
yes,
Tanya was actually able to be a student in my class doing FBP, and I am so glad to have you here again. Tanya, how are you doing?
I am fantastic. Thank you so much. Always good
Yeah.
to see your face.
Did you finish your piece?
Yes, I did.
Yay!
Yes,
I
I
love it. And
did.
have you practiced your FBP? Are you still happy with it?
So my FBP, I love my FBP. That is the in quilting. That's the part that I hated the most, and
And
that's
now
why I
you love
joined your
it.
class. That's why I joined your class because I needed to love the thing that I hate. I need to love the thing I hate. It's like doing burpees. Nobody likes burpees. You've got to practice it till you perfect it. So I have pictures in my mind of quilts, and it can only be made with FBP. There's no other way to make them. So
Love
I
it.
had to do this. And also,
Now,
I read your bio and I was like, oh, this is my type of person. There was sweets involved. I like this.
you are very, very kind. But you're also so outgoing and so flamboyant and so extravagant and so gorgeous. Tell
Thank
us
you.
all a little bit about you and how you've become this gorgeous creature that you are.
Okay, I lived and was raised on a farm in Gauteng, of all places, not very beautiful. Um, at 13, my teacher asked me, am I going to continue with my sewing at school? And I said to her, yes. And she burst out in tears because I only got a whole 6% for it. I hated it so much. So I went back the next day and said to her, please, can we just not do this? And she said, why do you get 6%? And I said to her, because you give me very ugly orange fabric to work with, and you make me do an apron, of which that subject I got 8% for. So obviously this is not my world. But the next year, my mother got a new sewing machine and I begged her to have hers. And she said, on one condition, you can have it, but I will not teach you. And I've learned that mothers don't think they are good enough to teach their daughters. Having my,
May I interrupt you there?
yes,
I think women don't believe that they're capable of teaching, and that confidence that they need to
oh,
recognize. And this is why I wanted to do this project, because South African women
yes,
do not see that they are
oh,
so,
good enough.
excuse my language, bloody talented. They don't
Yes,
see what they've got and what they are.
yes,
And it breaks
yes.
my heart because I just want to shake them and say, do you not see what you are?
Yes.
Your mom
In my
included.
having my
Sorry.
shop for 7 years, my sewing
Tell me
shop for
about your
7
shop.
years.
Go back a
So
step.
I have a
Tell me about your
sewing shop. I have a sewing shop. I'm the Benina dealer in the North Coast. I have a haberdashery, but I actually foremost started a sewing school. A mother approached me, talked a lot of something that I need to fix for her. Could not understand because she used weird terms. Eventually realized, oh, you want the button sewed on. I'm like, are you kidding me? You can't sew on a button. So I said to her, apologies. How old are you? Long conversation. I realized she did not do home economics in school. So there's a whole gap in our womanhood that cannot sew. So I decided, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to teach these kids to sew. And all the women arrived. I'm like, oh, cook. We have to revisit the schedule a lot. And I had all these moms. Then they bring their children for class because I think they're not good enough. And that broke my heart. And it was exactly the same for me. My mom said, you can have the sewing machine, but I won't teach you. So I went to my gran. My gran was a lady of very, very few words. Are you watching me? And this is what she did. But she made clothes for people that were disabled and hunchbacked. So I learned how to just see it, cut it, sew it. So I'm a seamstress, and it's always been my hobby. I didn't study this. I just love this because I'm a firm believer if you can sew, you will always have money in your pocket. Always, because there's always something to mend or make or fix. Because we can clothe ourselves. Eve made clothes. Oldest oldest job in the Bible is Eve.
I love it. Your
Yeah.
passion
So
is so extraordinary. I love it. How is
so
the
you know,
school going now? Because I'm a firm
so
believer, if you build it, they will come.
I tell you, so I have amazing kids with me. So I'm not a quilter. One of your questions was when did I start quilting? Last year.
That's
I'm a
one.
new quilter because I've always viewed quilting as the old tanny brown fabric, little flowers. I'm not, you can see there, I'm not a flower person, but when I flower like you do. You know, you've seen me.
I don't
flower
understand
this
what you mean.
I know. When we flower weird and beautiful and flamboyant. You know, we should be in Brazil with those things. So I viewed quilting as the old tanny with a grey hair, and it was not a pretty sight in my eyes.
Have you been to a quilt festival before?
Never. The first one that I went to was the one that you were at Azotza.
So that
And
was a quilt retreat with an exhibition of quilts on it.
That was it.
I want you to remember this, and I'm just
Okay.
saying it because unfortunately quilting does have that connotation of it being,
Yes.
because I remember when I started quilting, all of my friends turned to me and says, well, it can't be that hard. Little old ladies do it. And I tell you, when you see the quilts that those little old ladies make, it will blow your socks off. I remember seeing, and I will talk about Durkee until the day I die, this little lady, she was about this big, and she is the kindest, sweetest, most talented woman I have ever met. And she did a Dear Jane quilt, which is the most started, least finished quilt in the history of quilting. And it is extraordinary. It's amazing. And she did the whole quilt with the bases being red because she loves red. And she's known as Rui Durkee. And I tell you, she stood there. There's Durkee, there's her son and her child and her grandchildren all around her. And I just stood there and thought, these kids have no clue just how talented this woman is.
Wow.
And it is, unfortunately, that connotation with little old ladies. Talent in these women. And men. Their talent, it's just, but it's the confidence that people like your mom don't believe that they've got that talent to be able to learn it and teach it.
Because of my shop, I had to bring in quilting. And I've always said to Benina, it's not my first love. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. And I did try. You know, everybody's like, oh, you just YouTube it. Oh, no, you don't. You can't YouTube everything. You actually do need to go sit under somebody like yourself and sit there and make all the mistakes and get the help. I believe in it. You have to pay it forward. Like my grand helped me, I have to help my kids. If I don't pay it to my kids, I can only encourage a grown-up. That's all that I can do. If they come and ask for the help, I give it freely. But a kid has a blank canvas. They have no fear, no experience, no nothing. They just follow you blindly. If you say, you can do this, let's go. They do it. And I love it. Second lesson with my kids, they put in a lined zip. If I tell this to a grown-up, they go, oh gosh, oh no, not a zip. I can't do zips. No. I love the kids. So I've actually done, since last year meeting you, I've brought in so much of quilting into my kids' classes that I actually mentioned it to a friend of mine that I said, you do realize I Pinterest quilt now the most. What's wrong with me? I've become one of those. Oh,
but
love it.
What I love is we have a new generation that are learning from you. And that generation, every single interview that I've done, I've asked people, how are we getting more people to quilt? How are we doing that? And the generational gap of home economics and sewing being taken out of schools is felt in our industry. And I'm just delighted that you're doing this. It's so empowering.
You know, I always say I do, and I firmly believe it. I am blessed beyond words. I've been given this opportunity. It was a vision from God. I'm a daughter of God. I believe strongly in it. And he has given me this, and he's always said to me, it's about the people. It's not about the money. So I therefore have the best job in the world. It does pay nothing, but it does not matter. That what I need cannot be bought from Checkers in any case. What I want.
I think you've hit the nail on the head, because running a quilt shop myself, there is no money in quilt shops. Don't be deluded.
No,
but the benefit you get from having, you know, I'm doing classes again, having been very unwell over the last few months and doing classes again. We've got 2-3 people in the class, and it doesn't even, you know, you make more money packing grocery bags at a shop. You know, you'll make a lot more money doing that. But the joy you get seeing people's faces when their color combination has worked and it just brings me such profound joy, and obviously for you too.
Yes, I think the best thing, I always have to like put my hands in my pockets when they've just finished that project, because I want to grab from their hands, put it inside out and show them, this is what you made. So now I have to put my hands in my pockets and tell them very calmly, turn it around, shake it out. Can you believe you made it? But their faces, this is why I do this, because you can see it's written like, I can't believe I did this. And they go like this. Oh, this is what I do. And this is what I love about this the most. And obviously I do love pretty fabric.
It is so inspiring to hear this. Why did you get involved in the Voices in Club?
Because we all have a voice. And voices means I don't see what you see. I cannot see what you think. I cannot see the condition of your heart. And some people don't speak well. They can't say what they feel here, but they can do it here much better than most of us. I want to see what's in your head. I want to see what's in your heart. So I'm as excited to go there and see the other hundreds of quilts and see what they said about their life, what's important in their life. Because every time somebody holds it up, I can actually see you through that. That's me. I see you there.
Yeah, okay. It's hard not to be emotional when what I want to do is seen by other people. And thank you. That's very, very special.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about your piece, how you came up with it.
So mine is very, very, very simple. It's black and white stripes. It's my grandmother. It's the isle of my life. It's my grandmother. She taught me this trade. She made me fall in love with this, be consumed by it. Even though I had hard times and other jobs and other things, it's always been about the fabric and the sewing. And my grandmother was a lady of black and white. You live either this way or this way. There's no gray area. And you do it because you love it. And you do it right because you love it. And you hate it because you love the right side of it. And that's how it is. It's all about love. Everything boils down to one. Love. Nothing else.
I'm at loss for words. I literally don't know what to say, because it's impossible not to be affected by your story.
Thank you. Thank you.
Tell us more about your gran.
My gran. Wow, my gran, extraordinary lady, also a lady of the Lord. And we have a saying in our family, Satan is scared of my gran. That's how righteous she is. She passed on, and she is in my sewing room. I'm sitting in my sewing room, and I have 2 pictures in my sewing room, and she's there. If I really struggle in my sewing, which I don't, if I do struggle, I don't mind it, because I always say to myself, if I have to unpick, it's going to be better next time. I look at her, and I aspire to be like her. She was a widower very, very, very early in her life, and she had to go work, and she lived a very righteous life, very strict, very healthy. And she would, on a Saturday, take her lawnmower and do this big yard and mow her own lawn. She would go inside and take a line beer dumping, go like, one sip. And she's like, I deserve this. So she made no secret that there are things that we deserve. If you work hard, take a holiday, don't feel guilty. Drink your beer, don't feel guilty. Drink your gin, you worked hard. Don't feel guilty when it's going well with you, when you worked hard. Share it if you want to. It's fine.
I wish I could have known her. She sounds amazing, but I think there's a lot of her in you.
Yes, my family says I'm her. Yes. I also inherited all her illnesses. But this personality, hyperthyroidism, can you imagine? Not good, not good. My husband would come to me 2 o'clock in the morning and just touch me like, this is not the time to vacuum the house now. Yeah, so yeah, not a good one. But
you are
I
healthy and you're okay.
yeah, I like being me. And if I'm not healthy, I breathe. I wake up in the morning. I have a roof over my head, blanket. I've got people around me that loves me. I'm alive. We'll tackle it today as it comes. Whatever. We'll tackle it. Yesterday's done. We can't do nothing about yesterday. And tomorrow is just tomorrow. You can just plan a meal and that's about it. Honestly, just get on with it. Today is the day.
Even the meal can go wrong if you haven't got electricity.
Yeah, thank you, load shedding. That can become a braai.
How do you see your part in changing the face of quilting? Because I really hope people like you and you take your infectious enthusiasm forward in our quilting world. But how would you see that happening in your world?
Wow. I hope I learn to what I feel and what I see in my mind's eye to put it better into fabric, and that it's okay for other people not to like it. You know, if they don't like it, they can just say, great technique. Yeah, this is a difficult question.
I think as
I
well,
take everything on my stride.
but I think the difficulty is as well, and I found this myself, is that, you know, a couple of years ago, somebody came to me and said, you've really changed the face of quilting for me. And I looked at them as if they'd fallen out of a tree and hit their head on the way down. I'm like, what are you talking about? I haven't changed anything. But when you actually stop and look at the things that you do, you have
Yeah,
changed children. You have changed the
yeah,
way people think, and you have changed possibly the way mothers think as well. And that's
yeah,
it's a
yeah.
powerful
True.
tool to have.
Yeah, I hope I retain my enthusiasm for fabric and for sewing for kids, and you know, owning a shop. It makes it really very much business, all about the business and the numbers. Oh gosh, oh, I can't deal with those things and the admin. So I hope if I can say to myself 5 years from now, no to Tanya, are you still this excited? Did
Well,
you teach somebody something yesterday? You know?
luckily, there will be a video to remind you of how
That's
enthusiastic
true.
you were.
Tanya, now listen. Keep it up. Don't be bothered by other people. Do what you do.
Because I
Just
think
keep
as
it
well,
up.
do you find as a newcomer to this industry and as a younger person, because, you know, in a lot of places, I'm half the age of some of the women who are great powerhouses in this industry. But the
Yes.
world has changed so much in the last 10 years, let alone 40 years. The world has changed so much with social media, with Zoom, with the global village that our quilting world has become. How do
Yeah.
you marry those two up? Because I know I struggle, and the reason I'm asking is I'm selfishly hoping you've got an answer that I've not seen yet.
We
Because
can
it's a
discuss this
hard
over
one.
gin.
You don't want to disrespect what's come before us, but at the
No,
same
you
time,
can't.
you have to recognize that without change, our industry will die. Because the
Yeah.
majority of the women at quilting festivals who are in quilting classes, who are in quilting shops, running quilting shops, are at retirement age. And God willing, we've got 30, 40 years left with them, but we might
Yeah.
not. So how do we move forward taking what they've built and work on it to build something for ourselves and our generation behind us?
Tolerance. Tolerance. It's the illness of our generation, of our lifetime. There's no tolerance. Everybody's so self-centered, so about me, and my voice. It's voices of cloth. I hope there's a tolerance from my previous generation for me, and I hope I have the tolerance for what's coming after me, because I will be that old Tanya one day. And then there's a younger person bringing this change, and I'm going to go like, oh, are you kidding me?
I don't think you and I will do that. I don't think, if
Yeah,
anything, you and I will be encouraging those younger people to
yeah,
bring that change, because
yeah.
you and I think, have the emotional intelligence to understand that there are things that we don't know. And
Yes.
please help us do this.
Yeah, Mr. Ma that used to own Amazon, of the Chinese Amazon version, he said, when you get older, you have to employ younger people because you can't know it all, but they bring it to you, and you have to be tolerant. You have to be open to it because they bring in the thing you don't know. You're still there. They
And it's,
teach you. At one stage, you teach somebody, but at one stage, you are going to be the student. So that tolerance, it's that for me.
and
Yeah.
you see, I think you and I are very open to that. I don't think we'd have a problem with that. And
No,
I
no,
hope you and I will be in each other's lives, and 30 years from now, we will
can
be
you
able to turn around and
believe
say, pull yourself towards yourself and listen to that child, because they know what they're talking about.
they the younger version of us? Just go with them, help them, lift them up.
Because
They're there for us.
the joy of doing this series is hearing people's stories and being able to see the journey that they've had along the way. And every
Yeah,
single one of them are as passionate or more passionate than what we are. And to see how they have evolved the quilting world for them,
yes.
it's an
Wow.
exciting thing for us, but we've got big shoes to fill to be able to keep that going. And I think it's harder for our generation
Very
building
hard.
here, because there isn't a foundation. Like what you're building now is a foundation that we know
Yes.
those kids, we can
Yeah.
encourage them later on, and their
Yeah.
kids will be encouraged because of the joy
Yes.
they've had. But there's a
Yes.
generational gap where home economics and teaching people how to sew at a young age has not happened. And I think that's
Yeah.
a tragedy.
It's a real tragedy. That's the right word for it. It's like this void, this gap where there's just nothing,
Mm.
nothing. But I get them in my shop, and that makes me happy. They come to my school, and that
Where is your
I can
shop?
change one. In Belito, in Belito, in Belito. I used to have it at 7 years old. School is 7 years old. 7 years old. And
Wonderful.
I had the vision for the school when I lived in Asia. I had to come back and start it here. Yeah,
But that's the
amazing.
diaspora that we're all looking for as South Africans, that you go abroad, you learn things, and you bring those things that you've learned back and make the country better with what you're doing.
Yeah, but it's also your responsibility. I feel very strong about it. It's your responsibility. If you know something, doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't have to be sewing. If you know something, it's your responsibility to give it through to somebody else, because it's not yours. It's not yours. You didn't invent the wheel. You didn't invent that biscuit recipe. It's not yours. You have to pass it on, or else we'll have a generation that come that's ill-equipped, and they won't feel this. We don't teach them to give. Yeah, it's a wicked domino effect. It's wicked. Yeah, it's my responsibility to always show, always tell, always teach, always encourage. If you can't teach, just encourage. If you can't teach, encourage. Pay somebody to come for a lesson. Breaks my heart, the things that I see sometimes. I'm like, gosh, just, when I have kids in my school, I say to the parents the first term, I always say to them, please, I beg you, don't get the family together, because this child is going to continue sewing. I've yet to come across a child that stops sewing. They will continue sewing. Make sure the family from now on give money towards a sewing machine, fabric, keep them busy. They will stay off the devices and out of drugs. Mark my words. Because if you have fabric money, there's no money for drugs. Maybe a gin, At least we've got to have a gin. You see, I just had my wine.
You're infectious. It's amazing.
Thank you.
What is next in your journey?
To learn more. To learn more. Every time, the day that you think you've arrived, you have not even started.
Yeah.
Never think that. Sewing is so vast, so big. Then you think, oh, I can do this. Meantime, no, there's 100 other ways. I always say to my people, there's 100 ways to sew on a button. As long as you don't end up naked, you can make it work. There's
That's one way of looking at it.
there's 100 ways to do the same 2 blocks together and make it so much different. So, you know, as much as I hated FPP, like, oh gosh, you have no idea, I hated it so much. It made me cry. So much do I love it now. I actually bought myself a file now for all the, can you believe it? I've become that person. And I'm, you know, and I had to be very true to myself because I'm a seamstress before anything else. I think clothing. And I had to tell myself, it's okay to buy the file for quilting stuff, for FPP. It's okay. You're not a traitor to yourself. It's okay. You know, when you taught us how to
joy
do
as well. It brings you
very
joy.
much. Yes, very much. So the day that you taught us that evening, the little bee fabrics put together, you know, that blockies. Halfway through it, John, I was like, oh, ka-ching. I saw exactly what I'm doing. But it was not a quilt. It was a jacket. And I'm entering it into the festival. Halfway through it, you were still saying, you can't move your iron like that. I'm like, quit it, John. I can see it.
That is so amazing.
Yeah, so I think different. I view it different because I come from this side of sewing. I see quilt very, very different. Very, very different. You know, I made this bag. I want to show this to you. This is quilted. Look at this. I see everything very different. And I love this.
But that's how the innovation happens. That's how the change happens. Because when somebody sees it differently and shares it with others as differently, that's how it changes.
That's why I say if you can't teach, just encourage somebody. You teach really, really well. And I loved you for it. You've changed. I'm like that Tanya that told you, you've changed my view of quilting. I don't think somebody else would have done it that great. They would have changed my view, but not. I could see the things like I see it through your eyes. And that made me very excited.
I think it's because I teach like you do, because the passion I have for quilting, you can agree, every single class I start this is one way to do it. It's not the way you've taught before. There are hundreds of people who will teach you another way. This is how I do it. It's not right. It's not wrong. It's my way.
Yeah, and you have a different way. Come and show me. Come and show me. I'm not above anything or anybody. Yeah.
But I'm a lazy quilter. I want it done quickly. I don't have time for this. I'm sorry. I'm like, you know, there are different ways of doing APP, and I'm sorry. I'm too busy. I've got too much going on. This is how I do it. It's quick. It's sorted. Done. Sorted. And everybody else has not started yet because they're doing a different technique, because they can then tear the papers out in a different way. And I'm like, block 3, come on, girls, and everybody's still on block 1. You know, it's.
Yeah, luckily for me, I'm a fast sewer. In school, I have a teacher that teaches with me, and she said to me the other day, I said, I'm working out the timeline for this. And I said to her, okay, we're going to do this over 2 days. And she's like, no, Tanya, that's 2 days you, 4 days other people. I'm like, oh, yeah. She says, and you don't even take a shortcut. I just do everything fast. I move fast. I talk fast. I do everything fast. I want to get there because I'm so excited with the things that's coming. I can't do things twice. If you want to kill me, put me in a factory and say, I've got to sew this pocket onto a jean. I'll strangle myself with that freaking pocket.
Tanya, you are amazing. Thank you so much for your time today. I can't thank you enough. Is there anything I haven't asked you that you'd like to say?
If there is advice that I can give to any quilter, you got me on that question when you said, what will you tell a new quilter? And who's the quilters that inspire me? I want to say it's the quilter that starts. That's the one that inspires me. Despite anything, just start. And to the new quilter, I just want to say, get over the ripper section of it and just sew. For heaven's sake, let's sew. That's it. Just love it. And if you make a mistake, say, now it's going to be better. It's number 7, but we're going to do this better.
And at the end of the day, it's only fabric. It's not as if you haven't got some more.
Precisely. Just cut another one. It's not like we don't have stash. Come on. Don't tell me you don't have stash. You're lying through your teeth, man. I know you
Love
will.
it. Love it, love it, love it. And thank you so much for joining us today, Tanya. That brings us to the end of this installment. Hope to see you again next time. Bye, Tanya. Thank you so much.
Bye. Hello, I am Tanya van Wyk from Ballito, KZN in South Africa. My quilt's name is It's All About Love, because black and white leads to love. It's all about the love, doesn't matter what it is.